Hello, everyone. It's Lisa and Sara from Lead Through Strengths, and we're here today to give you some fresh ideas about how to apply your strengths at work. So, you talk about the demonizing of a strength or making a strength a bad guy or even fearing that there's a bad one that maybe, ooh, this isn't the good one to have in this organization. How have you experienced that in working with teams, and what would you offer them as another way?
Sure. And I think anytime that I'm working with a team, I am going to bring up theme bias. And that's whether it's the first time I'm seeing them or maybe the fifth time in a year. I'm going to return to this because I think it's just natural for us. I often say to groups that if they look through that full list of 34 themes and kind of scan that, their eye will stop on one or two of them and they will think, oh, I'm really glad I don't have that one. Or maybe that's good for the work that other people do in a different kind of organization, but for our team, we don't really need that here. That wouldn't fit. Or they go and point their finger to one and say, oh, I bet so-and-so had that theme, and that's why I find it so hard to work with them. So I feel like all of those are examples of theme bias, and it's really important for people to be on the lookout for it because a little bit of StrengthsFinder language can sometimes be detrimental, where people start labeling each other and making assumptions. It takes a long time to develop the fluency of understanding all 34 themes. So for me, what I want people to do is to have that awareness of their own dominant themes, and they wouldn't fully understand every other theme that folks have in the room, but that they have an understanding that none are better than others, that all of those themes are neutral. So I try to bring that conversation up regularly. If I'm working with a team over time, how are we doing with that theme bias, and check in with people. I just feel like it's very foundational to the whole principle. We're different people. We bring something different to the party, and we need to be honored and appreciated for that. I see also some ties in with diversity and inclusion about how we bring our whole selves to work. And it's really a very profound metaphor, I think, for thinking about diversity. We want to start with curiosity, not making assumptions. We want to ask questions. We want to assume that differences are an advantage, or to know that and to seek that out. And so I feel like that's an important message for teams to take away with this work.
Totally. I see a lot of the eyes open when we talk. They'll bring up diversity and they'll say, oh, this is a big thing in the organization. And then if we introduce the idea of cognitive diversity and just how you think differently because you lead through these different talent themes, forget all the other really obvious on the surface things that people are talking about. Let's talk about how you think, how you act, how these things drive you. And I've noticed that over the years, when we bring up that theme bias stuff, you get them to the end of phase one where they're realizing, okay, I'm a little bit biased against this other one in other people. Then they start to see, ooh, I have this bias against this thing. I had something on my top 5 or top 10 and I like it, but I don't know that it's really going to be accepted well in this work culture. So I think I'm going to turn that one down to a volume 1 and just save that more for home. Have you experienced that kind of example personally or with teams? And how do you get them through that bias where it's inside of themselves?
Yes, both within myself and with teams. And certainly the bias can be directed towards other themes, but it can be towards our own. And I think what people struggle with is, as you were talking about, it's seeing the workplace application of a particular theme. They might say, yeah, that shows up in my parenting role or as a volunteer or outside of work, but I don't know I don't know that that's what my team is looking for, or I don't actually know that I use that at work. So I really want people to not dismiss and leave something at the door, but to look, I think usually through some questioning and some deeper conversation, they might see the small ways that, and even big ways that they just haven't been tuned into, that something is really serving them well. My personal example was being caught off guard when somebody was asking me about connectedness. I call connectedness sometimes the squishy theme. It can take all different kinds of forms. I feel like it's a bit of a shapeshifter. But it was early on, when it was maybe like first few months of doing StrengthsFinder trainings, and somebody asked me about connectedness, like, yeah, well, how do you use that at work? And I wasn't really sure. And I'm the facilitator, like I should know this stuff. And it prompted me to really do a lot more reflection. Connectedness is certainly a bit of my mindset on how in which we are all connected. We're all people sharing the same planet at the same time. It's about how we treat each other. It's about reciprocity. So it ties into my values. But since learning more, I've also seen very strong business applications, and have met people in very high-powered jobs who are using things like connectedness. One of the people that I will often tell a story about was a person who is a chief economist at a Wall Street firm that everybody would know the name of, and he had connectedness in his top 5. And had a lot of thinking themes, but for him, he was able to explain, well, of course I have connectedness. I'm thinking on a macro level. I'm taking things that seem disparate to other people, but I'm seeing a connection that other people don't. So when there is bias about a particular theme, and I'll just ask people, you struggling with any of these, any things you want to learn more about? And in sharing that story, you can almost see the person who's been a little reticent just come to life of like, yeah, you know what? I do have that one, and that's okay. And so that's part of what I feel a value that I bring, is because I've been at this for a while, that I've accumulated a lot of those stories, so that if people need a new perspective, I can usually draw upon somebody else's experience with it, and it just puts them to ease.
Yeah, that is so good. And those examples make all the difference. I mean, sometimes just knowing, oh, it was a high-level economist. Oh, it's somebody who you wouldn't think of as the soft person or the so empathetic that he gets trampled. Oh, just because I can hear a role that sounds more thinking and data-based, it makes them open to hear, oh, there are these other applications. Because you could say, oh, he understands the ripple effect of his actions on other people. And somebody might go, yeah, okay, that's still too soft for me. But then if you say, oh, you can see the downstream effect of this decision on another department, and they go, oh, now that sounds very businesslike. Well, it's the same thing happening. It's just different words to describe the same thing. And you have so many rich examples to help people make it concrete.
Yeah. And I think through time, I've also noticed which themes people might have a harder time coming to appreciate, whether it's within themselves or in other people or in certain industries, that I'm kind of prepped that might happen. It's helpful also, I find, that when I'm going to be working with a group, I'll look at the team grid ahead of time. And I do pay attention to who are those outliers. If this is a group where there's a lot of, context, analytical, strategic, and some people who have differing themes, I want to make sure that everybody will understand that they're bringing something different, but something that's equally valued, and maybe even more important because it's an outlying theme. And so I feel like it has helped people who might feel like they're a little bit of a fish out of water, or they know they're different than a lot of their teammates, but know that that's bringing a value and helping other people to appreciate that as well. Giving the language, it's really about the common language, because often people have intuited this or they have a sense, but it's being able to put language to it. And because it's a validated instrument and it's been around and done by Gallup, the polling people, I feel like it gives a little bit of that credibility as well.
And something that you've mentioned often is permission. Sometimes it just allows them to say, oh, there is this way I think and this thing that I do. And instead of feeling like one of these things is not like the other, and I don't do this like everyone on my team, so therefore I should squash it. If it gives them the feeling that, oh, here's this thing, they're going to miss this. It's a contribution I should offer because they're not thinking this. Suddenly it gives them permission to use it as a contribution rather than that annoying person who thinks of the other things.
Oh, I think that is so true. I think that's so true. And that those outlying strengths, if we believe the definition of a strength, near perfect performance every time, we want everybody on the team to bring that. And that's what's really exciting is when you think about not only your own individual performance and how that can impact that striving for that near perfect, but what if you're surrounded by teammates who are also delivering near perfect performance? Like, what does that mean for what that team can accomplish and what's possible because of that? So to be able to tap into that, to unleash it, to set up the right type of conversations related to that is really exciting for me.
So many good ideas from Sara. Now it's your turn to go apply these and think about how they could show up in your workplace and how you could make a bigger contribution with your strengths by taking these ideas and actually applying them to your real life. Make them real for you. So let us know how it goes for you as you begin to claim these talents, do something with them, apply them at work, and share that strengths contribution with the world. Bye for now.